And good evening. We begin with breaking news. Another day, yet another fatal shooting tonight. One person is dead in new violence near a North Portland park.
It happened by Dawson Park this afternoon. That's near Legacy Emmanuel Medical Center. KGW's Alma McCarty joins us live from North Portland with the latest. Alma.
Well, Laurel, David, I am live now at North Williams and Northeast Stanton. This is where PPB responded just about 5 hours ago, and we have just learned a few more details from Portland police. They say the man who died in this shooting, or the person who died in the shooting, was a man, and they were not able to locate a suspect, although they did search Dawson Park behind me when they first got to the scene. That shooting call, we want to emphasize again, came in around noon today, right outside Dawson Park, which we're told is a place where families, children come to visit. Now, there's no one here now. Crime tape is still keeping people out. This location, as you had mentioned, is right near Legacy Emmanuel Medical Center. Officers are still investigating. They have called this now a homicide, and there are still quite a few investigators that are on scene, although there was a larger police presence here earlier this afternoon. This stretch of North Williams was closed for a time, and it has since been reopened. Again, they have just told us within the last couple of minutes that it was a man who was found dead here after a shooting call, although we do not know many other details beyond that. Commissioners Rubio and Mapps sent statements regarding this incident to KGW, expressing their sympathy and calling the situation unacceptable. Stick with KGW for the latest developments in this case. For now, live in North Portland, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
And that would make it the 20th homicide of this year. From there, let's head to Mount Scott, Arleta. That's a neighborhood that's experienced its own share of gun violence. You might remember it's also where City Commissioner Joanne Hardesty pushed to install those orange traffic barrels late last year in hopes of quelling the violence there. Mike Benner joins us live with an update. Mike, there are definitely skeptics here, though the commissioner essentially called the pilot project here a success. Help us understand why.
Yeah, hey there, David. Just think about it. Who wants to drive into this neighborhood and fire off a gun if getting away and driving away is going to be made difficult by these orange traffic barrels? Commissioner Joanne Hardesty believes these barrels are working, but she does not believe they're solely responsible for the safer neighborhood. She points to park ranger presence, better lighting, and of course, an increase in police patrols.
Portland City Commissioner Joanne Hardesty on a walk through the Mount Scott Arleta neighborhood, where just a few months ago she pushed to install these orange traffic barrels in response to increased gun violence.
This alarming, drastic increase led to this neighborhood bringing some specific ideas to the city, including a request to my office for a traffic calming intervention.
And Commissioner Hardesty believes it's paid off. In the 3 months after PBOT installed 18 low-cost traffic barrels in a 6x6 block radius, there were 4 shootings in the area. That's compared to 11 shootings in the same area in the 3 months before the barrels were installed. Hardesty touted the fact that's a 64% decrease. But look at the chart. You can see August 2021 only had 1 shooting. The month after the barrels were installed had 2 shootings.
I would not say the barrels by itself stopped anything bad from happening, but it was the community coming together saying, if we all work together, we can figure this out.
Speaking of the community, some think the orange barrels have had little to no impact.
Heck no. Not at all. Because people just move those around or just go right through them.
Others think the traffic barrels have been instrumental in deterring gun violence by slowing down the vehicles with shooters in them.
It's been immense, the difference between what we were experiencing last summer and what we're experiencing today.
Could police have something to do with the reduction in shootings? The Portland Police Bureau sure thinks so. A bureau spokesperson tells us officers saturated the area around Mount Scott Park late last year, leading to a 76% decrease in shootings, something Commissioner Hardesty acknowledges.
It's a combination of everything. Everybody has a role in reducing gun violence, and police have a very specific role as well.
But apparently, so do those orange traffic barrels. So much so that you may see more of them in additional neighborhoods in the coming months.
I want to continue this pilot in Mount Scott and beyond.
All right, so as Commissioner Hardesty works to bring what she calls traffic calming intervention to other neighborhoods, she hopes to do so in a more permanent fashion. We're talking about concrete planters instead of these movable orange traffic barrels. The commissioner also telling us that PBOT made a budget request in hopes of hiring a new staffer to handle all of this. David.
Mike Bennett reporting there. Mike, I know you'll stay on top of this. Okay, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler this week, speaking of the commissioner, by the way, the mayor fired a police officer who leaked false accusations made against Commissioner Joanne Hardesty. Now, you might remember the story. The fired officer is named Brian Hunziker, and he also served as the head of the police union. Stay with me here. We'll explain. An internal PPB investigation found Hunziker leaked information to a reporter that wrongly accused Hardesty of hit and run. Now, the victim in the hit and run originally said she was the suspect, although that was later disproved. So the internal investigation found Hunziker leaked the info, partly because of tensions between the police bureau and Hardesty. Here's part of what the mayor said.
Officer Hunziker's actions harmed Commissioner Hardesty and harmed the community's trust in the police bureau. As police commissioner, on behalf of the bureau, I want to apologize to Commissioner Hardesty for Officer Hunziker's actions.
And we reached out to Hunziker after he was fired, and he had no comment.
The suspect accused of starting the chain of events that led to a Vancouver police officer's death pleaded not guilty today. Julio Cesar Segura was arraigned this morning. In late January, police say he robbed a store in Vancouver and later entered the home of Officer Donald Sahota while trying to escape Clark County deputies. Sahota was off duty at the time. Police say Segura fought and stabbed Sahota as Sahota tried to arrest him. An arriving Clark County deputy then mistakenly shot Sahota. He died from the shooting, but the medical examiner determined the stab wounds would have likely also been fatal. Segura's trial is now set for September 12th.
Well, to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we are less than a week in, and Russian forces intensifying their attacks as the humanitarian crisis there grows. Now, troops aggressively advanced on the capital city of Kyiv, stepping up air and mortar strikes, a 40-mile-long convoy of tanks and trucks raising fears of a siege. More than 670,000 people have already escaped Ukraine. That number, of course, expected to grow significantly. And for those left behind, or in some case, those who have chosen to stay behind, it's not just the threat of being bombed now, but also more basic needs. We're talking about grocery store shelves, which in many spots have now been empty for days.
We sleep with bombing, we get up with bombing. No food, no bread, no water, no tabletics, no pharmacy, nothing. And the people of there staying, no money to go out, to run, no money. Ukraine need more help, please help. Their people is so good, except they are.
Talk now of opening humanitarian corridors that can't come fast enough. Ukrainian officials are accusing Russian forces of deliberately hitting residential neighborhoods and civilians. 136 civilian deaths recorded so far, but officials say they believe the true number is much, much higher.
And the war in Ukraine will be front and center tonight when President Biden delivers his first State of the Union address. He's expected to talk about his handling of the crisis, as well as domestic issues affecting Americans, such as inflation and the pandemic. In his speech, the president is also tasked with reassuring the nation of its safety amid rising global tensions.
He's got to talk tonight about the fact that we are all in existential danger of having our democracy and democracies around the world destroyed.
On the economy, President Biden will focus on strong job growth and GDP growth while empathizing with the challenges Americans still face when it comes to rising prices. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds will give the Republican response tonight, with GOP leaders attacking President Biden's economic policies. You can watch the address live right here on KGW tonight. It starts at 6 o'clock. And that also means we're mixing up our local news lineup, and a few of our usual newscasts won't air tonight. Instead, you can catch a special edition of KGW News tonight at 9 o'clock, then the news at 11.
All right, we might be inching our way out of the pandemic, though 2 years to the week after that first COVID case here in Oregon. Some are still in it for the long haul. Now, researchers at OHSU have found nearly a third of those who survived the virus have symptoms for months. KGW's Brian Clerkley joins us live in the newsroom. And Brian, what exactly are doctors pointing to here?
David, Dr. Eric Herman says there's a variety of symptoms, including fatigue, trouble with memory, and breathing issues, and some of these can last for a year or longer. When Karen Bishop got COVID, she never imagined it would ruin her health and compromise her ability to raise her 11-year-old son, Gianni.
I just had this overwhelming fatigue, this overwhelming lingering cough, and I started noticing significant memory issues.
Karen's condition is called long COVID. Dr. Eric Herman says it's common in people who've had minor COVID infections. A lot of people have symptoms for months after they've been infected. The most common is fatigue. In the last 2 years, doctors have learned more.
But we've seen other estimates where some people will persist having one symptom. Over 50% of people will have at least one symptom for a long time.
Dr. Herman says another important discovery doctors have made when it comes to long COVID involves vaccinations.
You're less likely to get long COVID if you've had an infection and been vaccinated as opposed to if you haven't been vaccinated. So again, stressing the importance of vaccinations.
Dr. Herman says it's important for people dealing with long COVID to pace themselves once you've had it. He advises monitoring symptoms for 3 months. If you develop new symptoms in that time, seek medical care. It could be long COVID.
It's still too early to know the ultimate long-term prognosis, but most people are recovering.
Karen has yet to recover. The condition has already cost her her job as a paramedic.
After termination, it was a huge battle with the workers' compensation. Workers' compensation ended up getting denied.
Dr. Herman says dealing with long COVID can also be hard on people emotionally. It's normal to develop depression and anxiety.